In Australia at the moment, we have a situation that is dire. Asylum seekers, many of whom have been in indefinite detention, some now driven to the point of absolute desperation. On Manus Island, and where the current hunger strikes are taking place en masse, people are fearing either being in detention indefinitely, never being able to come to Australia, as our new Immigration Minister Dutton announced yesterday very firmly, or needing to live within the community of Manus, where they have been threatened by the locals, making them feel very unwelcome, and including reports last night of there having been threats made against them.
I'm with the Refugee Rights Action Network, and we're out the front of Perth Detention Centre here to show our support for the protest of Martin, who is on hunger strike in Darwin, and also to show our support for the more than 500 people in Manus Island Detention Centre who are also on hunger strike, where also 3 people have swallowed razor blades in protest against their detention.
When I spoke to the guys in the last couple of days, of course, we've been talking about hunger strikes, and I would like to second what Victoria has said. I have spoken to my guys and I have said, I understand why you're doing this, but I don't want you to. And I know it's not my choice, but I don't want you to harm yourself. I want to be able to meet you one day. I want you to be alive.
They have lost every power they have. They have lost the power over their right to choose their future. They have lost their families, their friends, their name, their freedom, and they have said, our freedom or our bodies.
I want to read you a statement from Martin, who is back in Darwin Detention Centre in Wickham Point. He had cellulitis, a serious infection very similar to the one that killed Hamid on Manus Island. He had begged for days for pain relief and had received only Panadol. And he was in that much pain that they put him straight on morphine when he arrived in hospital. This is testament to the impoverishment of medical care that in fact exists within our detention centers, with staff that are increasingly immune to people's suffering and who have little, if any, medical equipment to actually deal with the kinds of problems that people present with. Those of us that work and volunteer in the refugee rights movement are keenly aware of the fact that the first human rights violation that occurs is people are interned without charge or trial, given a number instead of their name. And from that first abuse of human rights and stripping away of humanity, everything else that you see happening is not just possible, it's inevitable. Martin has undertaken this hunger strike because that's the choice he's been given. These are his words from today. The human, it have limits, and I already reach my limit. And I'm already thinking about more than that. No, I can't think about it anymore. If you want to help me, but please, don't push me more than this government, or I will kill myself today. I also want to read for everyone a statement that Refugee Rights Action Network has prepared to directly address and counter the outrageous, the horrific, the nasty comments from Peter Dutton and from the Chief of Staff at the Australian. The Refugee Rights Action Network rejects, in the strongest possible terms, any suggestion that we encourage asylum seekers to harm themselves or that we lie to asylum seekers about government policy and intentions. Nor have human rights supporters who have limited and sporadic contact with a handful of people in detention have the power to influence the hundreds and hundreds who are now on hunger strike. The Department of Immigration has given these men no choices, and these men are reaching out, and they are using the only thing they have, and that is their bodies. And we say, what right does the Department of Immigration have to prevent these men, as they do, from contacting media? We say, let the media in. If Dutton believes that his claims will stand up to scrutiny, then let these men sit with the journalists, show them the conditions, and explain to them their situation so that it may be explained to the Australian public. These men are, quite rightly, quite reasonably, asking for other solutions to be found. Does anyone here, does anyone really believe that anyone in this government is genuinely concerned about asylum seekers harming themselves? Asylum seekers themselves have said that they are mortified at any suggestion that they are being manipulated by people in Australia. And they have now publicly, after hearing what Dutton has had to say, denied that they have been encouraged to protest or to harm themselves. And they say it is the policies of the government of Australia that are the direct and proximate cause of their protests on Manus and in Darwin. No, never, ever, never, one detainee told The Guardian Australia in response to the minister's comments being put to him. He is a liar. Free the refugees!
Free the refugees! Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
Free the refugees!
So obviously these asylum seekers, many of whom, e.g. in the case of Iran, have been coaxed at the same time to return to Iran, from our understanding facing the possibility of torture or imprisonment, punishment of some kind, back in the country from which they have fled. What option do they have? They are desperate. Therefore, they have gone on hunger strike to seek freedom. If they cannot be returned to Australia, many, over 80 according to the reports this morning, have demanded to be returned to the United Nations.
They want to seek asylum! Free the refugees!